Lots of SEOs and webmasters are reporting that Google is removing a huge number of pages from its search index. This is a developing story. There's so much going on. Here's an example. This is from Paul P. on X. He says, it seems that starting in June, Google has been removing a large number of pages from its index. And he shares this screenshot of just this huge drop. So many pages removed. He says, confirmed in the French market. Make sure to review your websites. Something is happening. But it's not just the French market. It's all over the place. And it started happening before June. Lots of people are seeing this. This is from Search Engine Roundtable. Drop in Google indexing less since late May 2025. Several individuals have inquired whether Google has been indexing fewer pages on websites since late May. I've seen a number of complaints, and while nothing is verified on Google's end, I wanted to share these reports with you. And there's another X post from VJ who said, I noticed that millions of pages started de-indexing after May 20th. It looks like something big is on the way, or Google is testing a pre-update for the next Google Core update. Somebody commented on that and said, we have seen this on more than 10 plus search consoles. Pages de-indexed on 27th, 28th, and 29th May for all. These are active business websites with good content. So, on this episode of the podcast, first, I'm going to go deeper into what this is and what is happening. Then I'm going to share theories as to what is causing this and how people are saying you can fix this if it has happened to you. And it might, because it's happened to many, many SEOs. So like I said, many people, they're reporting drops in pages that Google is including in its index. If you have a website, you might see that Google is indexing less of your pages or has removed pages from their index. If a page isn't in Google's index, Google is not going to show it to searchers. The dates around this, there have been a lot of people giving different dates for when this happened to them, but the earliest that I've been seeing is May 20th. So I would concretely say this started around May 20th. If you want to see if this has happened to you, go to Google Search Console, go to indexing, go to pages, click off not indexed. You don't have to click off not indexed, but it makes it a lot easier to see. And then you can just see over time how many of your pages are being indexed by Google. And you might see that starting on May 20th or the end of May or the beginning of June, you've seen a drop in the pages, in your pages that are indexed in Google. Now, there is actually good news about this. Some people have said traffic is impacted, but lots of other people are saying traffic has been steady or has even increased. Google may remove pages that don't get clicked or that get irrelevant clicks and instead send you more qualified traffic that is interested in what you do and who you are and what your business is. And I'm going to share this more. Lots of people are saying that the content that is being removed, it's content that isn't useful. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So don't panic just yet. This is a post on the search engine optimization subreddit from Das Capitolin, who said, reminder, Google has been removing indexed pages. Check and resubmit. After inspecting a dozen different sites in the past few weeks, it seems that many pages have been removed from the Google index for each website I checked. This is unusual, as we could not recall any pages being removed for the entirety of last year. No pattern is clear, as some are top-level service pages and others are deeply nested blog articles. If your site has seen a decline in traffic, it could be worth inspecting. And there's an update on this on the original post, suggested by the legendary web linker, who is a mod on this subreddit, on the SEO subreddit, who's a great SEO. I got to get web linker on the show. And web linker said, and I'm going to talk about this more in a moment. He said, you shouldn't be resubmitting. You need to rebuild topical authority, and Google should be finding your pages from links in other pages. So it has authority plus context. And the top post on this is WebLinker saying just that, is this moderator saying just that. De-indexed has been growing since Google changed topical authority. So Google changed its topical authority. WebLinker later says Google changed its topical authority formula, and then adds the thing that was in the update in the main post. You shouldn't be resubmitting. You need to rebuild topical authority, and Google should be finding your pages from links in other pages so it has authority plus context. Let's look at some more comments in this post. Fresh Driver 6849 said, "Yeah, I noticed a spike of de-indexing from the 28th of May to today. I had a slow and steady increase in more pages getting indexed, and then the 28th of May hit. At a glance, it seems to be pages that get little or no traffic or pages that don't have any links." Somebody else said, "I have noticed the same thing." And another commenter, "Yup, I didn't notice much of a spike downwards through traffic. It was mostly fringe pages. Thanks for confirming." So that person said, no effect on traffic, no negative effect on traffic, though fringe pages were de-indexed. Somebody else, "I've also experienced a number of pages getting de-indexed starting on the 28th of May, which I initially thought was down to structural changes I'd made to my website. Perhaps my changes coincided with Google's update. Traffic doesn't seem to be impacted. The pages falling off the index were a bit crap, in my opinion." 2 more comments on this post that I want to share. This is from Bobsled4, who said, "Yes, I too discovered a list of about 20 pages that Google de-indexed from my site in the last few days. But after checking, they are all pretty weak pages that could really do with improving and updating. I've just updated a few and they've been re-indexed. So I should probably say thanks, Google, for reminding me to keep my content up to date." And then lastly, Buy and Fold 33 said, "I have about 30 pages that went out on May 2025, but they are all old pages I did redirects on or junk that doesn't need to be there anyway." So this person had 30 pages de-indexed in May, but they were old pages and junk that didn't need to be on this person's site. Here's another post from the SEO subreddit from OwnReference2619, who said, 127 pages crawled, not indexed, and loss of position. I have recently noticed a loss of around 10 positions on my main keywords, and by digging into Search Console, I noticed a big change in indexing. At the beginning of April, I had 140 indexed pages and 87 unindexed pages. Today, I am at 71 indexed pages and 238 unindexed pages. That is to say a loss of almost half of the index pages and a significant increase in the number of excluded pages. In detail, I have a lot of crawled but not indexed pages, a few redirects, no index tags, a few 404s, and a 5xx error. I wonder if this indexing problem is directly related to the drop in my positions. Do you have any advice or avenues of analysis to explore further? Have any of you experienced a massive de-indexing like this? Top comment, did it happen a few days ago? A lot of websites were hit with de-indexing for low relevance pages. Google took out 2/3 of my pages, but also gave more impressions and traffic now too. Then this person said, and there's a specific reason I want to read this because you might be thinking the same thing. This person said, with Google removing / de-indexing a lot of pages for a lot of different websites, chances are a lot of our sites had backlinks removed from other sites, pages pointing towards us. So maybe your page had a drop in backlinks. It seems like a reasonable assertion. You might not see it until Google re-indexes your site though. So this person basically is saying all these pages are being removed from Google's index. Maybe pages that had backlinks pointing to your site were removed, or backlinks that point to that somebody else's site removed, and that's hurting your rankings. That was this theory. And I just want to call this out because actually there's this thing in search engine optimization that not a lot of people know about. It's called link echoes. If you want to learn more, there's a section on it in the 21 SEO experiments article that I'm always reading. It'll be included in the description for this episode. And actually, the person who wrote this article is coming on the podcast tomorrow. Really excited about that. But link echoes, it's how the positive or negative effects of backlinks, they actually persist even if the backlink is removed. So there's been all these experiments where people have linked to a site, then the site increased rankings directly due to those backlinks for the target keywords, and then the backlinks were removed, but the sites maintained the rankings that they got because of the backlinks in the first place. And there's been so many tests around this. It's called link echoes. It's like it's also called link ghosts. because the positive or negative effects of backlinks will persist even if the backlinks are removed. And again, so far we're seeing, for most people, a lot of the pages that are being removed, it's not great pages or not super relevant pages. 2 more comments I want to share in this post. In this post, 127 pages crawled, not indexed, and loss of position. So this comment, again, from Bobsled4, who explained, I've never had a problem with pages being indexed until the last couple of weeks. While it's only about 30 pages that Google has de-indexed on my site so far, I found a few clues and issues when checking the pages. So these are the patterns for this person's pages that are being de-indexed. And the patterns are the keyword is used too often, especially in the first part of the page. So you should only have your keyword in and it depends on how long the keyword is. If it's a long keyword, it makes sense to really just include it in the page title, the URL slug, the H1, and the beginning of the first sentence. And the meta description is optional. If the keyword is a more common phrase and it makes sense to include it throughout the page because it's just a common phrase that you can't avoid using, that's all right. But if it's a specific keyword, a very specific phrase or something, then yeah, you don't want to use it too much because it'll be seen as spammy. So more patterns that this person noticed that caused pages to be de-indexed. Pages hadn't been updated for 2 years. There was a content overlap with other pages. There were no internal links to a page. And this person said, when I checked and corrected these issues, most pages have been indexed again. So please the bot, please Googlebot, and you should be able to get your pages re-indexed. And the last comment that I want to share is from James, who said, I am also experiencing the same since the last few days. Google is de-indexing and adding a large number of URLs undercrawled, currently not indexed. I observed it on some of my websites. We tested a blog with AI content. Google de-indexed most of the URLs from this site. Next, I have another site that has inner pages, duplicate content. Google de-indexed most of those URLs. Finally, I observed that URLs that do not provide any value will not continue in the index because Google does not want to waste their crawling budget. So basically, this person had AI content de-indexed, had duplicate content de-indexed, and says content that does not have any value will be de-indexed. Google doesn't want to waste crawl budget. Makes sense. But this is the last thing that I'm going to share. We're back to Search Engine Roundtable now. The headline is Google on unrelated content as a search ranking issue. Google's John Mueller responded to a complaint about indexing issues and ranking drops within Google search, citing that the possible reason is unrelated content on the site. John said in response to the complaint, one of the things I noticed is that there's a lot of totally unrelated content on the site. The article continues, we've covered this topic many times before. Some call it, quote unquote, staying in your lane and not writing content that is off topic to your primary coverage. Now, John Mueller said on Blue Sky, one of the things I noticed is that there's a lot of totally unrelated content on the site. He then asked if that is by design. And that goes back to what Weblinker said about topical authority being changed. So maybe it's that topical authority, the algorithms around topical authority have gotten more strict. But yeah, to summarize, it seems the most plausible cause for all the de-indexing issues, it's Google has changed its quote-unquote formula, as the moderator Weblinker called it, or its algorithms around topical authority. If you have any pages that were de-indexed that are important to you, try updating them, making sure they're internally linked to properly, making sure they're up to date, making sure the content is decent, making sure you're targeting your keyword properly, and then resubmit that updated page through Google Search Console. To rebuild topical authority, double down on external marketing that is hyper-focused to your niche, and try to avoid having a ton of unrelated content on your site. Some is fine, but you don't want to have a huge amount of unrelated content on your site. And then again, the good news is a lot of pages that people said were removed were not very valuable for searchers or even for the webmasters, or even for the people who had the site. Some people even said that they got more traffic. So you might have pages removed from Google's index, but you get more sales because you're getting better rankings for the pages that bring you money. You might see something like that. And actually, I'll say, in terms of evergreen content, I'm not seeing any changes for my bottom of funnel pages. They're all still being indexed, even ones that were created in 2019. My bottom of funnel SEO landing pages created in 2019 are still being indexed, and many of them still rank number one. But they're on sites that have hyper topical authority, that have good content, that target the keywords properly. So they satisfy a lot of things that I've been talking about in this episode. But that is what is going on. Lots of people are reporting pages being de-indexed, but there are ways to get your positions back, your pages back, or maybe you're actually just seeing an increase in traffic. And that is all for this episode of the show. If you'd like to get my method of purchase intent SEO, check out my 13-hour course at compactkeywords.com. Again, about doing SEO that is super hardy, that is super durable. It's SEO that targets customers and ranks number one for a very, very long time. Updates to Google have come and gone, but this strategy lives on. That's compactkeywords.com, and this is episode 709 of my daily digital marketing show. 709 days in a row doing this podcast. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you if you listened on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you watched on YouTube. Thank you so much. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.